Every founder has a product they believe in. Not every founder knows how to sell it. Wired to Scale is the show that closes that gap. Real conversations with the founders, operators, and revenue leaders who figured it out. Hosted by Zoya Segelbacher. Brought to you by Uncapped.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wired to Scale, the podcast where we sit down with founders and operators building the future, scaling businesses, and bringing unique products to market. I'm your host, Zoya, and today we have a very special returning guest, Atul Raghunathan of Hyperbound. For listeners who don't know, we had Atul and his co-founder on the podcast about 2 years ago, only shortly after Hyperbound made its big debut to the world. For people living under a rock, Hyperbound is a leading AI sales roleplay platform. It lets sales reps practice cold calls and gain realistic exposure using AI buyer personas instead of role-playing with managers or burning real prospects on practice. So welcome back.
Zoya, it is great to be back. It's crazy that it's been 2 years.
Yeah, it's wild. A lot has changed in 2 years. 2 years ago, you were selling a vision. Now you're selling as a category leader, which is really awesome. I guess I'll kick it off with a question related to that. Which sales has been harder, as a category leader or selling the vision?
That's a great question. I think we've never really stopped selling the vision. The vision has always just expanded and continued to grow. And even now, it's always still a very visionary thought leader style sale for us, because it's about what is the future of sales management? What is the future of enablement? What is the future of revenue operations? And how Hyperbound is tied to that is still the pitch today. But I will tell you that as far as purely the role play part of our product, which is now around 20-30% of what we do, but as far as purely the role play part of our product, that part has gotten way busier. So we started as basically the only and the best option in the space. And now we're still the category leader in terms of tech, but there are several other, there's in fact dozens of other roleplay players out there. So it's not uncommon that we will find ourselves in a 7-way, 10-way fight for an RFP or for any other type of evaluation. And it's annoying. We win most of the time, but it really drags out sales cycles. So that part's not as fun. But when folks buy for the whole platform, it moves a little faster.
Yeah. I'd love to hear what the whole platform has evolved into, even just in 2 years.
No, absolutely. I would say that roleplay is a great way to create behavior change in terms of how to get someone to mention the right thing on what we started with, which was cold calls. And then we expanded to discovery calls, post-sales calls, pricing negotiation, really every part of the revenue cycle from that first cold call to the 15th renewal and the expansion. And one thing that we realized fairly quickly is that, look, mass enablement initiatives are great for onboarding reps and for ramping, which is something that Hyperbound is very, very good at today, when you have these big change management initiatives like new product launches, etc. But there is a more nuanced type of coaching that gets a lot of value as well, which is identifying folks' skill gaps in their real conversations and suggesting to them personalized enablement, right? How can we take your B players and your C players, the folks who have the motivation to continue to grow, your future A players, and get them the personalized one-on-one attention that a manager realistically doesn't have time for in a week. So what Hyperbound went from is this platform that can do enablement-driven, large-scale role-play programs to we do that. But then after that, we take care of identifying the skill gaps from reps in their live conversations. We score those calls, figure out what they need, which skill they need to close their current deal, what they need for their next call, generate them a 3 to 5 minute practice before that next conversation, and then help them win in their live deals. We've kind of merged enablement and coaching, which I think is really the future of where enablement's going, just in time.
Yeah, just-in-time enablement. Yes, I love that. I love that perspective. I spent a little bit of time in enablement, and I know just how challenging it can be to identify like what it is that will actually
Mhm.
move the middle. Um, what would you say are common themes that you'll see like across your customers? What are some of those typical, you're like, oh, I'm certain this is probably going to surface as like one of those key initiatives to get on top of?
I think the funny thing is noticing um, how much noise the managers feel from all the tools that they have today. So you'd think that it's simple for the manager to get on top of this, listen to the reps' calls, figure out what they need to improve on. But the managers are being bombarded with not just the call recordings, but all these dashboards. So really, the most impactful part of our product right now is, yeah, Hyperbound is very capable of creating the behavior change. But even just in helping the managers identify which behavior change to create when is where most folks start. And folks have actually even ripped out Gong and replaced it with Hyperbound for that reason, which has been nice. So we didn't expect that. Like we thought most folks would be more interested in the behavior change component, but it turns out like our skill gap detection engine was much more valuable. And on that note, right, some of the skill gaps that we've noticed across the board is, especially with the customers that we sell to, is it's the inability to identify when to bring up a cross sell in a sales cycle. So they're like, honestly, that's the most common given like our ICP, but it's how do I expand the ACV of my opportunity without putting it at risk? How do I bring in the appropriate additional stakeholders? How do I do that? And like that has been a nuanced skill that Hyperbound has been pretty involved in teaching across our customer base.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, I mean, it's probably different for all of your customers, but is there like a cost of not doing that? Like if you were to put a price on it, like how much as an estimate do companies miss out on by not cross-selling?
Oh, I mean, in some instances, you're giving away 30 or 40% of your potential growth that year from not as aggressively cross-selling as you could, and instead relying on your post-sales team later to close the gap. Uh, some of our customers, Zoya, sell 500 different SKUs. So yeah, a cross-sell is literally P0 for them.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, let's start with some headlines. You have a bunch of exciting ones. You recently raised a Series A for 15 million. You announced, and at this point it's a couple months ago, but you announced your first month where you had 1 million in new ARR.
Mhm.
Let's stick with that one. Can you take me back to the day that you realized that that was actually going to happen? Where were you? How did that feel?
Oh, yeah. Uh, that was a crazy experience. So first, like closing that funding round was awesome as well. That was about a year ago at this point. It was slightly less than a year ago. And I think the craziest part for that was not only did we raise the Series A in 11 days, which was insane, um, almost 100 of our customers invested in us.
Wow.
Like I'm talking like individual contributors, managers, directors, enablement people from our customers invested in us, which was what a vote of confidence that is,
Yeah.
right? Like that honestly was a high that I was riding for 3 months. Uh,
Yeah.
but after that, right, when we really started deploying that capital and grew the sales team, man, did they deliver. Right. We went from being absolutely overwhelmed by the inbound that we were taking into building the sales capacity and the muscle and the structure and the process to go from like, effectively chaos over here at the Hyperbound sales team on the sales floor to a nice, rigid, repeatable motion that finally yielded that $1 million month. Um,
Yeah.
you know, crazy part is since then we've actually had $1 million week.
Let's go.
I know, right? Uh, it was insane for us. But yeah, that $1 million month, like knowing that the struggle that it took us to close the first $1 million, that took a whole year, right? To go from 0 to $1 million, knowing that that happened it happened in like, I think the first time it happened was in 3 or so weeks. Insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess $1 million day is next.
I think that'll happen within a year, like almost for sure. Honestly, December 31st this year, I might bet on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so something that I care about, something that I talk with founders about is this, you described it as like the rigid, repeatable motion. What are some of the things that went into that? Like, what did you find you wanted to address first? What were some later things? Maybe even what were some assumptions you made that you learned were completely wrong when it comes to building this repeatable motion?
Oh man, where to start? Okay, there's a couple things that you need to line up. The first is what does your discovery process look like with the customer, and how do you approach like what is the narrative of the product that you sell to them? Hyperbound has so many different use cases that and different use cases have different degrees of success when we work on them with customers. So it's just, look, what are the different routes that we can take in discovery, and then what are the appropriate use cases that we can pitch as a result, and how do we turn that into a consultative process? So that's one. The second one is, what does your pricing and packaging look like? Like, is it conducive to not making special exceptions on every single deal? Is it conducive to something that folks know how to purchase? And then third is going to be, what does your collateral, your order form, your deal desk process look like down the line? And for us, I mean, look, there's a ton of other things, but the seniority of a sales rep can kind of patch in the rest of the gaps. But for us, these were the 3 parts of the process that we put a lot of time and focus and effort into, especially given the fact that we hired fairly tenured reps who had been VPs of sales or directors of sales before. So we just needed to line up these 3 things. And the first core realization for the discovery process was the way that Sai and I sold is not the way that the reps could sell.
Tell me more.
Well, look, founder selling is fun. It's very passionate. It's very high energy. And folks will buy simply because they believe in you. And they believe that you are going to, like, they're the early adopter type who is excited about being involved in the process of building something great and knowing that they have problems that you're aligned with. So it is very problem oriented, and their trust in you as a person. That's very different than purely sales rep led sales, where it's a lot more value selling on the actual product. So like more focusing on not the hypothetical of what can we build and what is the roadmap, but what does a product do today, and how does that slot into to my exact problem set today? It's a lot more metric driven, a lot more data driven, and it also opens you out of the early adopter gate, right? So you move away from the that 10-20% of folks who want to invest into the future to the folks who just have the problem and want it solved today. And the discovery style, the sales style, the amount of narrative that you use in the process changes quite dramatically. Lucky for us, Isaac and Bilal are 2 like original sellers, did a great job of collaborating and communicating between the 2 and writing down a lot of what they experienced in those conversations. And it helped us like in putting together a very challenger sale inspired approach, putting together a discussion board for those original discovery calls, where we basically go through a series of statements to see if the customer will, a series of controversial statements, I should add, to see if the customer is going to align with something that we say, or if the customer is going to pull back. And if they align, very fast. If they pull back, easy DQ.
Yeah. Do you have any examples that you could share, like a classic like DQ, hyperbound DQ question?
Well, they all tend to be about like how folks treat enablement. Like so at least our early role play specific ones were about how folks treat enablement. Like one fun one was along the lines of, do you think enablement should be a program, or do you think it should be like do you think it should be a push from leadership, or do you think it should be a pull from the reps? Right? Like, do you think that like successful enablement initiatives comes from reps asking for something, or do you think successful enablement initiatives come from having a structured, program that pushes down from the org? And a lot of the smaller orgs will tell you, oh yeah, the reps just need to ask, the reps just need to push for it, and like the reps need to organically adopt things. Every large org will tell you, like, absolutely not. The reps are going to focus all their time on selling. And, someone who aligns with that and like understands the value of enablement, very different process, because you're not selling them on enablement. You're selling them on the methods you're using for enablement. And that's where Hyperbound becomes a much easier pitch. If someone is not yet sold on enablement and thinks that it needs to be like purely organic rep adoption, we're like, sorry, you're probably not ready for the product today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Something that you mentioned that I come across a good amount in founder conversations. You mentioned that it was very different, right? Founder-led sales, very different from sales, department-led sales. Something that I see is like sometimes it's hard for founders to like let go of the reins, especially if they're, I don't know, if that's like something that they really spent a lot of time getting good at, or sometimes they're even convinced that like at this point, I don't think anyone else could sell it, when that's not true. It's more what you said, that someone else could sell it. They would just sell it differently. How did you navigate that anxiety, or maybe you didn't have it, but that desire to stay so close to the process?
Well, transparently, I think as a founder, your job is to go find the biggest, hairiest problem in the org and go solve that. And solve it in a way that you fire yourself from it. Like, my goal every day is to figure out how I can fire myself from the things that I'm doing day to day so that I can open up my bandwidth for the next big, hairy problem. And sales is one of those challenges. And by the way, you never permanently fix anything. Like, you kind of patch it for like 6 months, and you always have to loop back around. But the goal is like, if this is not something that I can turn into a process, it's not something that Sai can turn into a process. Sai's my co-founder, by the way. This is not something that we can turn into a process. Well, the company's not going to grow any further from here. Like, look, if we go all out and spend all of our time selling, I bet that we could be superstar AEs pulling in maybe 3 million quota a year. That's not good enough. We can't end a year at just 6 million added revenue, right? Like, I want to close 25. I want to close 100. So building that process and building that muscle into something that can scale is important. And yeah, it's why like we all have like our motto is, how do we fire ourselves?
Love that. Yeah, I think it's funny because that's common founder advice. I meet some people, it's really hard for them to to let go sometimes. So yeah,
It's
it's
really hard
awesome
when
that
you watch someone screw something up in front of you.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's awesome.
like, but it's important that you learn how to let go and figure out how to give them the coaching that they need to do better, instead of, just being angry with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to see that you practice what you preach. If we think back to last time you were here, it doesn't have to be something you mentioned on the podcast, but what's something that you deeply believed back 2 years ago that you've since abandoned, or maybe changed your belief on?
Oh, this is a tough one, because I honestly don't even remember what I believed 2 years ago. I feel like I've gaslit myself into just,
I was always right.
yeah, no. Yeah, I don't think I'm always right, by the way.
No, I
Like,
know. I
that's very
know.
much not it. But it's let's see, like what were some strongly held beliefs that turned out to not be true? Uh, oh yeah, okay. So there's a point where we said that Hyperbound was never going to go into the CI space. Because we were like, look, if there's value in like purely role play, then people will come for that. And like we just need to stay focused and build the best damn role play product there ever is. But then we realized very quickly that that heavily hinged on the sales managers having great insights from their real conversations and great insights into all of their reps to understand exactly the scenarios that each rep needed to improve on, which didn't exist. So we're like, we need to solve that problem too. And we did expand out into CI, and now we're just a full-on Gong replacement for many folks. So yeah, that was one pretty stark product difference or product direction change that happened in our heads.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like I might remember that. I might remember those times. Nice.
Yeah, your advice early on, Zoya, by the way, phenomenal. We're very, very lucky to have you on our advisory team.
Thank you. It was a fun time.
Oh yeah, but those early days going from 0 to like literally our first 100K in revenue. Oh man, like I remember when we used to meet weekly on that. It was great.
Yeah. Same sentiment here. Okay, what are you most excited for that you can share for the future of Hyperbound? Because if I learned anything, it's that you all definitely don't stay in the same place. You're not content with good enough. So I'm sure that the two of you have tons of plans that are just in your head that nobody even knows yet. But what's a little hint of something that might be coming soon or a direction that you feel comfortable sharing?
We are going to destroy the CI category. We're going to make it utterly irrelevant. Like, just give us 2 years. The way that managers consume information from CI tools today is a very 2010s approach.
Okay. Oh, let's dig into this. Because when you say CI, you mean conversational intelligence?
Yeah, like Gong, Chorus, Clary Copilot, etc.
All right. Your big prediction is that CI is on its way out in the way that we know it.
I think that's going to be replaced with something better. So CI is great at delivering like data to you, like dashboards that are full of all of this rich insight. The problem is there is so much that goes on in an org that there is equal parts signal and equal parts noise. And it's not very actionable, right? So you end up learning about why something died instead of being there to save it. So like the whole point of Hyperbound and the revenue activation platform that we're building is how do we proactively take action when we notice something slipping? So instead of like just retrospective intelligence, which you get from one of these tools today, it's like, what are we doing to get ready for that next conversation? How are we eliminating all the busy work for the sales rep and giving them all the coaching and all of the insight that they need to do better?
Yeah, I love that. All right, so 2 years from now, you will be back on for the third time.
After we've killed all the CI tools,
Yeah.
you can count on
it. Awesome. Well, the last question that I'm going to ask you, is there any question that I should have asked that I didn't?
Oh, let's see. I think we could always talk more about what the early days look like. So yeah, like let's see. What was fun about that? Do you remember those times when we were an email personalization product back before we were even doing this role play thing?
Yeah, I heard about them. Yeah, you went through a couple iterations.
We did. We pivoted 17 times. And I think that's honestly a good lesson for anyone who's listening who's going through that pivot hell journey right now is, no shame. Just keep trying to find something the market really resonates with. Don't try to force something on the market.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Another thing that I love about just like your early journey, I love how you used Hyperbound to make yourselves salespeople. I remember thinking that was really, really cool because, you were both very technical. And I had a lot of respect. To this day, I have a lot of respect for you. I have a lot of respect for any technical founders, because you kind of go from being full-time, very, very strong at what you do, to part-time, if not for a little while, full-time, just responsible for something that you had possibly no interest in ever doing. um and that you have to become really good at it, and that was really cool to watch the two of you like evolve into, like you said, at this point, if you wanted, you could be AEs who close 3 mil or more a year. So I remember thinking that was awesome, thinking that that was a very good personal like proof point.
I appreciate it, Zoya. I mean, in fact, those early sales days were so hard for us that, yeah, like you said, we built Hyperbound to make ourselves better salespeople. It turns out other people wanted it too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for joining. I'm looking forward to catching up outside of this. And like I said, let's make a date. Two years from now, I'm so curious to see where you are. Hopefully, we can have you back on the podcast, and we'll both be I don't know, maybe we'll do it in person. Maybe we'll go to like a destination podcast location. Let's put that out there.
Let's do it. I'm looking forward to your fancy new podcast studio, Zoya. We'll see it.